When people talk about range, you probably think about how switch heavy ranged is, essence of finality switches, arrow stack switching. In this video, I want to see what range actually feels like if you were to remove switches entirely. I'm Wings of Absurdity, a range content creator. Let's find out. While planning out this video, I wanted to do a boss that could properly showcase the difference. I want a boss that puts up a fight, it lasts longer than 2 minutes, and it's easy to repeat without having to run through an elite dungeon every time. I landed on hard mode Carapac, although the time warp mechanics still add some layer of complexity. I did consider Raksha, but Raksha's forced HP delays at 400k and 600k HP, along with post-skip mechanics, makes it hard to get a consistent comparison. For gear, I debated between Masterwork and Elite Dragonlich. Since Elite Dragonlich is more common and more accessible, I decided to go with that and also use the Amaska book. I could have used the full book, but for safety, I stuck with Amaska book. I am splitting the testing into 3 categories. First, I do normal kills where I use both arrow switches and EoF switches, basically how I would normally kill Carapac, just to establish a baseline. And then kills where arrow switching is allowed, but EoF switching is not. And finally, kills with no switches at all, no arrow switchings, and no EoF switching. For the baseline kills where I kill Carapac the way I would normally kill it, I'm switching between Eldritch Crossbow EoF and Gloomfire Bow EoF, only switching to Guthix Bow EoF for emergency healing purposes. For arrows, I mainly camp full arrows and then swap to Deathspore arrows when I want to take advantage of a free death swiftness during the time warp mechanic. For phase 1, I'm able to skip the first slam, so that's something you should take a note of. These are the kill times I recorded using my baseline kills. For the second category where arrow switching is allowed but no EoF switching, I still get to pick one EoF to camp. Out of the 3 EoFs, I chose Eldritch Crossbow since I use that one the most often. Because of that, I lose access to Gloomfire Bow, so I ended up substituting that with a snapshot instead. Even without Gloomfire Bow, I am still able to skip the first slam mechanic, so that's a pretty good start. Because I'm using snapshot, which is cheaper, I end up having more excess adrenaline throughout the phases. Even in later phases, I found my kill times to be relatively the same, with some moments where it felt slightly slower, but still, these are the kill times I got from this test. For the final test, no switching is permitted at all. I again stick with Eldritch Crossbow EoF and only camp full arrows the entire time, so no Deathspore switches at all. My kills become much more simpler. I rely almost entirely on snapshot and I don't even think about switching arrows. Since I can't use Deathspores, I instead use Time Warp to imbue Shadow first, and then Quick Go, and then Death Swiftness. Instantly, because I don't have that free ultimate from Deathspores, I noticed the kills to be significantly slower, but despite that, the kill time still kinda surprised me. There are moments where I felt like if I had just used Death Swiftness on the Deathspores there, the kill would have been so much faster. And then there are times where I felt like the kill was significantly worse because I didn't use Deathspore arrows. Anyways, these are the results from these tests. So it goes to show how critical Deathspore switching is for ranged, but even without it, you can totally get away with it. That 228.2 kill time is nearly close to the other 2 tests, but the 247.2 outlier also shows that it can also get complicated when you don't do it. If I were to apply this strict anti-switching attitude to other content, the setups would look something like this. At Zuck, I would camp Decimation EoF with full arrows. In ED1, I'd stick with Eldritch Crossbow EoF and full arrows. Although not having Decimation EoF for ED1 does make things awkward, but you do have Bombardment to help you, which really shows how important it is to at least do one EoF switch, and that'll be for Decimation. For ED2, I'll camp Seren Godbows with Jas Demonbane arrows. For ED3, I would go back to Eldritch Crossbow and full arrows. At the Sanctum of Rebirth, Eldritch Crossbow with full arrows. At 4 cap, Seren Godbow with Jas Demonbane arrows, although I probably need a pack mammoth to make that work comfortably. And for Hardcore Virago, well, that's more of a sanity check than anything. The point is, yes, range does benefit from EoF switching. At least one switch goes a long way for range, but for a lot of content, you can absolutely get away with not switching at all if you don't want to deal with the effort. If you're pushing high in range or going for very difficult challenges, then limiting yourself to one EoF and no arrow switching will definitely make things harder. That'll be it. I hope at least you found it interesting to see what range is like without switches. If you enjoyed my content, you're welcome to click the subscribe button. If you also wanted to follow me on Twitch, you can now do it because I recently created a Twitch account. At the moment, I don't have full commitments to my Twitch account yet, but I thought I'll let you know in case you wanted to follow me on Twitch. The link will be in the description. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you enjoyed, and bye bye.